They say time heals everything. That distance and silence will eventually smooth out the rough edges of pain. But I don't think they ever lived through a love like mine and Ethan's. Because some memories don't fade, they ferment. And when you least expect it, they surface. Sour. Sharp. Unbearable. Ethan and I weren't just lovers. We were each other's beginning. I met him during my junior year at the University of Oregon. I was studying graphic design. He was on his last year of business school. The first time we spoke, I was returning a book he left at a cafe. It wasn't anything poetic. The spine was cracked. The pages were dog-eared. But it had his name, and I was just drawn to him. Like gravity. 3 years later, we were engaged. I still remember the night he proposed. Under an old tree by the lake we used to visit after work. The one with the hanging lights, and the picnic bench that always needed repainting. It wasn't extravagant. Just a quiet moment. A ring. A trembling voice. A yes. But love, it turns out, isn't a guarantee. It's a gamble. I should have seen it. The distance. The late nights he couldn't explain. The subtle way he started calling me, hey, instead of babe. But I told myself he was stressed. That the new job, the commute, the pressure. Everything was just piling up. And that I'd be selfish to question it. We got married in Portland. A small courthouse ceremony. Because both our families were either too far or too fractured to show up. We didn't care. We said we'd build our own family, our own legacy, our own story. For a while we did. But then came Melissa. The name didn't mean anything to me at first. Just another contact in his phone. He was never one to be secretive. But when I saw her name pop up after midnight, something in me shifted. I didn't check the message. I didn't have to. It was that instinct. That ache in your chest. That tells you someone's rewriting your story without telling you. Still, I said nothing. I waited. I watched. He started coming home late, claiming his manager needed him to close. Then he started showering before he greeted me. And one night, he left his Apple Watch charging in the kitchen. That's when everything changed. A message came through. Tonight was dangerous, but worth it. You smelled like her, LOL. I don't remember how long I stood there reading it. The words blurred after a while. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there, frozen in a moment I couldn't unlive. The next day, I confronted him. He didn't deny it. He didn't explain either. I think we rushed everything, he said, like we were talking about a parking ticket. That's when I packed a bag. Just a few things. A sweater. My laptop. And my grandmother's wedding ring. The one I wore on a chain instead of my finger. Because it felt more honest that way. I moved in with my sister Claire. She had a spare room, and a look in her eyes that told me she'd been waiting for this shoe to drop. She never liked Ethan. Said he always smiled with his mouth, never his eyes. 2 months later, the divorce papers came. Signed, sealed, emotionless. I wish I could say I rebuilt my life right away. But the truth is, I crumbled quietly. I stopped drawing. Stopped sleeping. Started walking aimlessly through grocery store aisles, just to feel surrounded by life again. Then something strange happened. 3 months after the divorce, I got a message from a blocked number. You don't know everything. Not yet. That was it. No name. No context. I deleted it, thinking it was spam. But the next week I got another. He wasn't the only one lying. I sat up that night, staring at the message, wondering what kind of game someone was trying to play. I almost called Ethan, but I stopped myself. That chapter was closed. Burned. Buried. Or so I thought. That's when I found the old flash drive. It was tucked inside a shoebox of our wedding photos. A blue Kingston drive. I plugged it into my laptop, half expecting it to be blank. It wasn't. The folder was labeled, "Before You Knew." Inside were voice recordings, screen captures, emails. But not of Ethan. Of me. Of someone pretending to be me. Emails I didn't send. Conversations I never had. All sent to Ethan, before the affair started. And suddenly, everything I thought I knew, every reason he gave, every silence I blamed on him, was now in question. The first voice recording I clicked on started with a breath. A deep inhale. Followed by a forced whisper in a tone that sounded eerily like mine. I'm not sure how much longer I can keep pretending. Ethan thinks I'm happy. But he doesn't know what I've been doing when he's at work. My skin went cold. Whoever recorded this wasn't just impersonating me, they were me. Or trying hard to be. I listened to 3 more clips. All of them staged. All with background noise that made it sound like I was whispering into my phone from our bedroom or bathroom. The details were precise. Chilling. Down to my laugh. My cadence. The way I dragged out certain vowels. I searched every email in the folder. They were all sent from a Gmail account, just 1 character off from mine. All of them dated over the course of 2 months, starting before Ethan's affair began. Subject lines like, "He still doesn't know about Brandon. Maybe it's better if Ethan finds out. He deserves to feel what I felt." Whoever sent these knew how to get into Ethan's head. And it worked. I sat at my sister Claire's kitchen table until 3 a.m., going through every file, every lie, every piece of manufactured evidence someone had built to make it look like I had been cheating first. But I hadn't. Not once. Not even in thought. The next morning, I confronted Ethan. Yes, I know. I said I wouldn't speak to him again. But something this twisted couldn't go unchecked. I met him at a coffee shop near his office. He looked surprised. Thinner than I remembered. His tie was crooked. And he looked like he hadn't slept in days. "I didn't expect to see you," he said, avoiding my eyes. "I didn't expect to be framed for an affair I didn't have," I replied. That got his attention. I placed the flash drive on the table. He stared at it like it was a live grenade. "I don't know who sent those messages," I said. "But they weren't from me. And if you ever loved me, really loved me, you'll help me figure out who did this." He didn't touch the drive. Instead, he ran his hands through his hair and let out a sigh that sounded like a confession. "I thought it was you," he said softly. "They sent everything to me. From your account. Voice memos. Screenshots. I didn't know what to think anymore. I felt like I was going crazy. And when I asked you what was wrong, you shut down. You wouldn't even talk to me. I was scared, Ethan. Scared you were drifting away. That you were seeing someone else." He looked up. I was. But only after everything started unraveling. After I believed you had already left me, emotionally, if not physically. The silence that followed was the kind that builds walls. "Do you know who would want to sabotage us?" I asked. He hesitated. Just a flicker. But it was there. "There's only one person I ever thought would stoop that low," he said. "But it wouldn't make sense. Not after all these years." "Who?" He swallowed hard. "Your friend. Jen." I blinked. "Jen. My best friend since high school. The maid of honor at our wedding. The one who took me out for drinks when Ethan first started pulling away. Who let me crash on her couch before I moved in with Claire." "You're out of your mind," I said. "She was there for me. Why would she?" Then I remembered something. The last time I left my phone unattended in her apartment. It was the night we watched old movies, and I fell asleep on her couch. My phone had been unlocked. She'd even plugged it in for me. I thought it was kind. Now I wondered if it was planned. I left the cafe in a daze. Ethan didn't follow me. He didn't try to explain anything further. Maybe he was still trying to make sense of it himself. Back at Claire's, I called Jen. No answer. I texted. "Can we talk? It's important." 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then nothing. I waited. Hours passed. Still no reply. Then around midnight my phone buzzed. It was a message. No name. No number. Just, "Stop digging. Some truths are better left buried." I didn't sleep that night. Every creak in the hallway, every car door outside made my heart race. The message, "Some truths are better left buried," played in my head on repeat. It wasn't just a threat. It was a warning. And it came right after I mentioned Jen. I couldn't ignore that timing. By morning, my mind was split in 2. One part still clung to the version of Jen I had trusted with my life. The other was putting together puzzle pieces I never realized were missing. There had always been signs. I just didn't recognize them. Jen had a way of being too interested in the cracks of my relationship. Like she was waiting for them to spread. She never said anything outright, but she'd ask questions like, "Are you sure Ethan's still into you?" Or, "Don't you feel like he's holding you back?" And now that I look back, she was always around when Ethan and I fought. Always had something to say afterward. Always offering wine and sympathy. I knew I had to see her. Not text. Not call. See her. So I showed up at her apartment. She opened the door wearing a robe, hair still damp from a shower. Her eyes widened when she saw me, but she covered it quickly with a smile. Wow, haven't seen you since, what? 2 weeks after the divorce. Can we talk? I said, stepping inside without waiting for her to invite me. She closed the door slowly. Sure. What's going on? I looked around. The apartment was spotless. Too spotless. No sign of anyone else living there. But I noticed something on the coffee table. A flash drive. Same brand. Same color. Kingston. My stomach dropped. Is that yours? I asked casually, pointing at it. Oh, she laughed nervously. No. I think it's from work. I was transferring some documents. Mind if I see? She paused. That half-second too long. Then she reached for it. But I was faster. I picked it up and stuffed it in my purse before she could grab it. Hey, what the hell are you doing? Jen, I said, trembling. I need you to tell me the truth. Did you send Ethan those emails? Did you fake recordings of me? Her expression shifted. From outrage to cold calm. I don't know what you're talking about, she said flatly. Don't lie to me. She stared at me for a long moment. Then her lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. You were never supposed to find out, she said. I froze. Why? I whispered. Jen walked over to her liquor cabinet and poured herself a drink. At 10 a.m. Do you know what it's like, she said, watching your best friend get everything you wanted? The career, the ring, the man. Ethan wasn't perfect, but he was mine first. I blinked. What? We dated. For a few months. Way before you ever met him. He doesn't remember. He barely looked at me back then. But I loved him. My mind reeled. You broke up with him, I said, the pieces clicking together. Before we ever met. I made a mistake, she said bitterly. And when he fell for you, I swore I'd never lose to you again. You sabotaged my marriage. She shrugged. You weren't happy anyway. I was trying, I said. We were both trying. Yeah. Well, trying doesn't mean anything when you've already lost. I took a step back. You sent those fake emails. You faked my voice. I just gave him a reason to believe what he already feared. I didn't make him cheat. That was his choice. She took a long sip of her drink. I wanted to scream, to throw something, but I just turned and walked out, gripping the flash drive like it was my only lifeline. Back at Claire's, I plugged it in. More recordings. More emails. This time, not just pretending to be me, but messages Jen had sent to Ethan directly. As herself. Manipulating him. Pushing his doubts. Feeding his jealousy. I printed everything. The next day, I showed it all to Ethan. He didn't say a word for a long time. Just sat there, staring at the documents. His hands trembled as he read the messages. Why would she do this? He finally asked, voice hoarse. Because she couldn't stand that we were happy. He looked up at me. I'm sorry. I don't need an apology, I said. I need the truth. Were you already drifting away from me before this? He shook his head. I loved you. I still. He stopped himself. I didn't know how to handle what I thought you'd done. I felt betrayed. I shut down. I was weak. I nodded. We were both weak. But you cheated, Ethan. No matter how broken we were, you still made that choice. He looked like he wanted to argue. But he didn't. I want to fix this, he whispered. I looked at him. At the man I once believed was my forever. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't know what I wanted. That night, I got another message. So what now? Gonna cry to him and make it all okay. No number. No name. But it was from Jen. I knew it. Jen's message haunted me. It wasn't even the words. It was the casual cruelty behind them. The way she tried to twist what I had just started to uncover. Like even with the truth on my side, I'd still lose. Still look like the one who broke things. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. She'd already said enough. More than enough. But I couldn't pretend everything was okay. Even with the evidence. Even with Ethan sitting across from me days later, asking if we could try again. I'm not asking you to forget, he said. But maybe, if we talk to someone. If we both admit where we failed. You didn't just fail, I cut in. You gave up. You didn't come to me. You didn't even ask if it was true. He looked down. I was ashamed. I didn't want to believe it. But I did. And when Melissa happened, I told myself it was fair. That if you'd hurt me, I had the right to do the same. But I didn't hurt you, I whispered. She did. I know that now. And I hate myself for not seeing it sooner. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But something inside me was still cracked. And that's when I realized something. Even if we found our way back, it wouldn't be to the same place. We'd have to rebuild everything from the ground up. Not repair. Rebuild. And even then, the ghosts might linger. Claire warned me. Don't rush into anything, she said. Just because he regrets it now doesn't mean he can undo what he did. I know. You're allowed to heal on your own. You don't owe anyone your forgiveness. But I also didn't want to carry around hate. Not anymore. So I asked Ethan to meet me at the lake. The place where he first proposed. It was colder now. Gray skies, bare trees, no lights strung up like before. But the bench was still there. Chipped paint and all. He arrived wearing the same coat he wore that night. I thought about this place every day after you left, he said. I hated coming here. But I couldn't stay away either. I handed him a folder. Everything I found. The fake emails. The recordings. Her confession. He flipped through it slowly. As if finally holding proof made the guilt sink deeper. Did she reach out to you? I asked. He nodded. Twice. After you left. I ignored her the first time. The second time, she showed up at my apartment. She said she wanted to clear the air. That you'd manipulated her. I frowned. And you believed her? He hesitated. I wanted to. I sighed. She played both of us, I said. But you let her. That's what still breaks me. He sat beside me quiet. After a long moment I asked, do you love me? Or do you just regret what you lost? He turned to me, pain etched across his face. Both. I believed him. But I wasn't ready to say it back. Not yet. That night, I went home and opened my email. A new message sat unread. Subject, you should have stayed gone. No sender listed. The body of the email said, you think you've won? I haven't even started. Attached was a photo of me and Ethan from earlier that day. Sitting on the bench. The angle was from behind the trees. She'd been there. Watching. The photo shook me more than I wanted to admit. It wasn't just that she'd been watching. It was how close she'd been. Hiding in the trees, camera ready. Waiting for a moment she could twist. Proof that she was still in control. Still part of the story I was trying to escape. I didn't tell Ethan right away. Instead, I forwarded the email to myself, backed it up, then deleted it. I didn't want him to spiral again. Not when he was finally facing what he'd done. Not when, for the first time, he wasn't running. But I couldn't keep it from him forever. We met for lunch the next day. I showed him the photo without a word. He stared at it for a long time. She's following you, he said. She's trying to scare me. It's working. He clenched his jaw. I hadn't seen that look on his face since the day I packed my bag and walked out. That same cocktail of guilt and rage both turned inward. We need to go to the police, I said. With what? A photo and a creepy email? They'll just tell us to block her and move on. We tried that already. She's not going to stop. He exhaled hard and nodded. Then we gather everything. And we press charges. It took us a week. We combed through old phone records. Messages. Ethan even accessed an old laptop, where he found metadata linking Jen's IP address to the fake Gmail account she used. Claire helped us organize everything, dates, patterns, threats. She was fierce. Protective. More than a sister, she was my shield. Then we filed a formal report. The officer we met was sympathetic but cautious. She's walked a fine line, he said. A lot of this is manipulative, but not technically illegal. Until she crosses it. She's already crossed it, I said. Then we'll need more than emails and suspicion. We'll need evidence that she's stalking you or threatening physical harm. Otherwise, all we can do is document. Ethan slammed his fist against the side of his chair. What if she hurts her? He asked, his voice low. What if she snaps? The officer looked at him calmly. Then we'll have her. But I hope it doesn't come to that. We left the station angry and empty-handed. That night I locked every window. Changed every password. Slept with my phone under my pillow. But I didn't feel safe. The next day, I found a single red envelope taped to my car windshield. No name. No stamp. Inside a note. You don't deserve peace. You deserve to know what it feels like to lose everything. That was it. I sat there in my driveway, gripping the note, hands shaking. Then I called Ethan. Come over. Now. He didn't ask questions. He was there in 10 minutes. We sat in my living room while I showed him the envelope. She's escalating, I said. This isn't just jealousy anymore. It's hate. Ethan stood up and started pacing. I think I know how to get her to stop. How? By taking away what she wants most control. What do you mean? He looked at me suddenly calm. Too calm. I mean, we go public. With everything. He opened his phone and showed me a drafted post. A full write-up, our story, her sabotage, the screenshots, the timeline. Everything. Ready to be posted on social media. You're serious? I asked. If she wants to be invisible, we make her visible. If she wants to shame us, we take that power back. Together. I didn't know what scared me more. That he was right. Or that it might backfire. Still I nodded. Okay, I said. Let's do it. That night we posted it. Not just to our accounts, but through a blog Claire helped us submit it to. A long-form story. With evidence. With names. By morning it had gone viral. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments. People who had their own Jen stories. People who believed. People who doubted. And some who tried to guess who she was. That afternoon, Ethan got a call from an unknown number. He didn't answer. But the voicemail that followed chilled us both. It was her. Her voice. You think this is over? You think your little truth changes anything? You've just given me nothing left to lose. And you remember what I'm capable of when I have nothing to lose. After the voicemail, everything felt suspended. Like time had slowed, but fear had quickened. Every sound outside made me flinch. Every car that passed felt like it might stop too long. We didn't know what Jen meant by nothing to lose. But that's exactly what made it dangerous. Ethan offered to stay with me. For protection. For comfort. And I think, because he was finally scared in the right direction. But I couldn't breathe with him there. Not because I didn't trust him. But because I didn't trust myself to not lean on him. So I told him to go. I need space to think, I said. He didn't fight me. He kissed my forehead and whispered, I'll be 5 minutes away. If you even feel uneasy, call me. I nodded. But that night, I didn't sleep. I checked the locks 4 times. Sat on the couch with a kitchen knife beside me. I hated feeling like a prisoner in my own home. But more than that, I hated the part of me that still wanted closure from Jen. Not revenge. Not punishment. Understanding. Why destroy so much? Just before sunrise, I heard a sound. Not from the house. From outside. A small clink. Metal. Deliberate. I ran to the window and pulled the curtain aside. A figure in black stood at the edge of my driveway. Watching. I couldn't see her face. But I knew. My hand shook as I reached for my phone. I called Ethan. She's here. He didn't ask questions. I'm on my way. Then I called 911. By the time Ethan arrived, headlights cutting through the dark, the figure was gone. But something was left behind. A charred piece of paper on my front step, still warm. It had been partially burned. But I could make out what remained. He chose you. Again. But I can still take everything you rebuilt. We gave the note to the police. They finally had enough to classify her actions as stalking, harassment, and credible threat. They opened a case. 2 days later, they served a warrant at Jen's apartment. They found audio files, printed messages, surveillance screenshots. Dozens of folders labeled with our names. Not just of me, but of Ethan too. Pictures of him walking to work. Lists of his routines. It wasn't obsession. It was a blueprint. A step-by-step breakdown of how to dismantle a relationship and make it look like it imploded from the inside. They arrested her on multiple charges. And just like that, she was gone. But the damage? That stayed. Even after the restraining order. Even after the interviews. Even after the apology letter she sent from jail, claiming she lost her way and couldn't stop herself. I didn't reply. Some wounds you don't stitch, you let them scar. Weeks passed. Then months. And slowly, the world started to feel safe again. I went back to work. I started drawing again. My designs changed, more raw, more emotional. Claire said they looked like healing. I think they looked like survival. As for Ethan, He waited. He gave me space. Never pressured. Never begged. Just quietly showed up when I needed him most, like he should have back then. One day, we sat on a bench outside a farmer's market. No big conversation. No plans. Just people around us. Music in the air. The kind of peace we hadn't had in years. He turned to me and said, "Do you think there's a version of us still left to save?" I looked at him. At the man who had failed me. At the man who had faced his shame. At the man who stood between me and my stalker without blinking. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But maybe we can try writing a new one." He smiled. Not like the man who used to smile with his mouth, but not his eyes. This one reached all the way through. The redemption wasn't in getting back together. It was in finally seeing each other clearly. It was in letting go of who we were when things broke. It was in refusing to be defined by the person who tried to destroy us. Jen once told me I didn't deserve peace. But she was wrong. I earned it. Every last piece of it.